I was contacted by these guys here. They're called Yottamaster, and they asked me if I wanted to review one of their units, and this one here is actually really cool to me. So it's a USB-C dock, and if you've watched my channel, you know that I really like USB-C docks. I have tablets and things like that, and I have the Surface Go laptop that I use all the time. It has a charging port here and the USB-A, so I'm very limited on what I can use with this. I also have things like the ROG Ally beside me here. So I use a lot of devices that don't have very many ports whatsoever. And this one here is even cooler to me because it has a built-in M.2 NVMe slot inside of it. So you can hook up, this for a standard USB hub, so you can plug it into, your ROG Ally, your Steam Deck, your Microsoft Surface, your MacBook, whatever. And then, you have all that extra expansion, the extra USB-C ports, SD cards, that kind of stuff. But for me, having a slot that I can put in my NVMe is huge. I use devices like the ROG Ally here. I use devices like the Steam Deck regularly. Having something like this is awesome. Now you can expand your Steam Deck, you can expand your ROG Ally, your MacBook, whatever you have, with more ports, but you can expand the storage. Okay, so let's do just a quick unboxing here. Okay, so you get a little bit of literature here. So you get this nice little carrying case. This is actually cool. Look at that. I mean, you can use this for other stuff too. Look at all this cool stuff. You can put your SD cards in there, your wires. So you get your USB-C. This is a nice USB-C cable. It'll be a data-rich cable, so it'll supply power. 10 gigabit you can see there. Perfect. And of course, it'll supply power as well. So we'll put that in there for now. Here's the device. So in terms of the form factor, it's not a super thin device, but it has a built-in NVMe as well. So it's a dock plus NVMe. So I don't want it to be tiny, but it's not as big as some of those desktop docks. I've reviewed desktop USB docks with NVMe's. You can see them on my channel, and they're typically bigger. They're like a big unit you set up, you put over here or something like that. It's a big unit. You plug it into the wall, and it's a permanent solution. You just leave it there. This one, of course, you could. You could set this up in a place like that on your desk, leave it permanently, but it's also portable. Like, it's very handheld. It's not heavy, even though, the build quality feels good. Hard plastic bottom with rubber feet, so it's not going to slide around. Like I said, if you're setting it up, permanently on your desk, you're not going to want this thing falling off the back of your desk when you plug things in. So it has those rubber feet on the bottom, hard plastic, some maybe ventilation, either decoration or ventilation there, we'll see. Nothing on that side. Oh, there's tons of ports on this thing. Okay. All right, so so we have SD card here, micro SD card, TF, USB-A 5 gigabit. So that's going to be 500 megabytes a second or so if you're using like a SSD, external SSD. Same with that one, so that's good. 10 gigabit port, so that's your fast one. So if you want to plug in another port, like if you have another NVMe enclosure, you could plug that into there and get another one, so you can get more and more and more storage here. RJ45 Ethernet, I will test that, make sure that works. HDMI, I will test that, make sure that works. Another port, 5 gigabit, PC in, so this is going to go to your computer, and then this goes into your charging port. So it can supply up to 100, you can supply up to 100 watts of power delivery. I have a 100-watt USB-C, so I'm going to put a 100-watt USB-C into there. This is going to go into my computer, and then you get access to all these other ports. Very good. And then here's the star of the show, in my opinion. It opens up, and inside we have an NVMe slot. So NVMe slot inside there, nothing fancy on the inside, obviously. It's just meant to work. Multiple connectors, so you have 2230, 2242, I don't know what that one's called, and 2280 full length. So we'll test that out. You get a nice little heatsink on this thing too. This heatsink is worth like $15 Canadian or so on its own. Okay, so these are your little adapters. You go. They send you 3. It's cool. I guess if you change your ports a lot, and they're not rubberized, they're plastic. So I'm gonna light these. I'll show those later. Lots of goodies here. What do we got here? So we have lots of heat shield. Holy smoke! Look at that heat shield. Look at that heat sink there. This is not a cheap heat sink. Like most of these brands just use a big chunk of aluminum. So if you have your hot SSD, you just stick your, you stick your thing on there, and it's just a big chunk of aluminum. And aluminum works. I mean, it'll decrease temperatures, but that has a big chunk of copper in it. This should work really well. That copper is, so if you don't know, copper is a better conductor of heat than aluminum, and that's why they use it. And then you get 3 thicknesses of thermal pad. So I guess you can, depends on how thick your NVMe is. There is different thicknesses of NVMe. Okay, so I guess your first step is, I put the thermal pad on top of this. I'll just leave that on there for now. This, I guess, is the caddy that goes in the bottom. So you can set that in, and this will help you get it out. It'll help you remove the device after, so it's sitting in there. So that's nice. This will also work as a heatsink. So if you have like a Sabrent dual-sided NVMe, you can see there's dual-sided. This one's single-sided, so it won't matter. But this has chips on both sides, so this will also allow some heat to get into that metal piece there, if need be. So you stick this little foot, thing on here, put that in there, stick it in. Sometimes these companies use little rubber things, which are super annoying because, you know, they just keep falling out. This one will actually click in once you get it lined up. Can't see what I'm doing, so I guess that's in. Turn it and it's locked. See that? You could turn it all the way, but then when you're done, you just turn and it'll just pop out. You can use these as, you know, pulleys or whatever. I guess that's the term I'm looking for. Heatsink just basically sits on top after, and it'll be sticky, so this thing won't rattle around. Nice and flush there. So that's going to be, yeah, and you can click it into these there. So it's going to click into those little handles or whatever. So that's good. You can see there, it's not going to fall out. Not going to be rattling. If you didn't have that little like caddy in there, this thing might rattle around. But you can see there, it's good. Perfect. It's magnetized, so you can see there it's actually magnetized. So it's not just going to fall off. Right? It's not rattly or anything annoying, it's just magnetized. So you actually have to pull it off if you want to take it off. These are very fast thumb drives, these Samsung bar. So we'll just start plugging things in here. They'll just pop up as we're going. What else do I have? A USB-C, I'll plug something to that. I guess I'll have to use another NVMe enclosure. We can test that. These guys make just USB-C. I don't have one, but they make, you know, this style as well, where it's just the NVMe enclosure without all the extra ports. So if you need that as well, you could do that. Right now I have to use a different brand because I don't have one, but they make this style of enclosure as well. And it actually looks pretty cool. They were going to send me that instead, but they sent me this, and I'm actually happy about that because I really like this. What else do we got here? Look at all this stuff. Look at all this storage. This is great. This is a Surface. This has 120 gigabytes of internal storage, like by default, this laptop. You know, it's just a Surface, so you get like no storage on these things, right? This is my local drive. You can see here, I'm just massively expanding my storage here. And you know, you don't have to use SSDs. You could use external hard drives. So I have an external hard drive dock that has 4 ports in it. You could plug that into here, right? So then you're going from, and it's USB-A. So then you can add, you know, terabytes upon terabytes upon terabytes of storage. Okay, so now you can see I'm extending the display rather than, obviously, or you'd see that thing popping up. So let's see what we're getting out of this guy here. So 4K, so it's accepting a 4K signal. It's a 4K screen. That is good. And 60 hertz, okay, so that's good, that's very good. So this is supplying 4K 60 hertz. This is a Thunderbolt 4 port. So it's supplying 4K 60 on my screen there. And you can see over here. So you can see there, you know, that is the right screen there. So it does supply 4K 60 to that there. If need be, I can plug that in. So you can take, you know, a tiny little laptop like this and turn it into a workstation by having an external display. This thing doesn't have HDMI, right? It has the stupid Microsoft proprietary thing, a Thunderbolt and a USB-A. So what am I going to do, right? I have no ability to do that, right? So you can plug this in, of course. You know, you plug in your this there and you get DisplayPort, but then I'm done. I have a USB-C port, I'm done, I'm finished, right? That's my only port taken up to do display. Same if you have a MacBook Air, right? So with this one here, you know, I can plug in this here, I can plug in this here, get access to all these ports here, you know, all these USB-A ports, HDMI, and plug that HDMI, you know, all this stuff here, plug all of this in over one port. And because this guy here only has one Thunderbolt port, it doesn't have multiple ports, right? It only has the Thunderbolt here and USB-A. I'm able to get my 4K display over this one here. I'm able to get all these USBs here at the same time and also get a 4K display all going at the same time off one port. So that'll pop up immediately. Plug that in. Look at all that storage. I took this Microsoft Surface that has one singular 128 gigabyte storage, which is like useless, and look at all this storage now. And these aren't even like the bigger drives, right? I have a 2 terabyte NVMe inside this enclosure. I have a 4 terabyte on the I have a 4 terabyte running off another external enclosure, and again, these guys make those things, so you could do that. And then I have a ton of USBs here, SD cards. So we'll plug in that there to this port here. That's the RJ45 Ethernet. You can see there it came up right away. Well, maybe. So now we have Ethernet. Okay, so let's just start testing things now. So let's test out the NVMe internal, which is D. So we'll test out how fast that goes. I expect 800 or 900 megabytes a second, something like that. That'll be normal speeds. Okay, so there you go. I mean, I can just let it run, but that's normal speeds. So it is 10 gigabit. This is giving us really, really good speeds there. So you can see there, the internal NVMe is exactly as anticipated. Okay, this would be a cool test here. So we're gonna unplug this. I'm just gonna unsafely unplug it. All these devices will take a second. Windows will be like, oh, all your stuff's gone. Okay, so that's gone. I'm gonna plug this in. I have like, all of these things plugged in right now, as you can see. So we'll plug it in. You get home and you just want to plug this in. You get home from work and you want to plug in and access all of your files. Plug that in. It should take, I don't know, 4 or 5 seconds, and then it should just start going. Let's see here. There you go. Oh, there's all the stuff. So immediately all the stuff is recognized. So I'm going to test out some of these USB ports as well, USB-A ports. These Samsung bar thumb drives here, they can run actually pretty fast. Okay, so you can see there my RJ45 Ethernet. Look how fast it's going. You can see there I'm running off the RJ45 Ethernet, and it's running very, very fast, 800 megabytes a second. I have fast internet, as you can see. Obviously, I have fast internet, and it's running at 825 megabytes up download, and about the same for upload. So very, very, very fast off of this RJ45 Ethernet. Okay, and here's another cool thing. I have this ROG Ally here. I also have a Steam Deck. And these things, you can upgrade the storage inside the ROG Ally. It has a 2230 SSD in here, so you could take this up to 2 terabytes fairly easily if you take it apart. It also costs a ton of money to get those 2230. Or you can just get a dock like this and plug it in like that way. So let's take this here. We'll plug this in and set that over there. The nice thing is here, I'm going to be able to increase my storage dramatically. So you can see here, stuff's starting to happen over here. Well, this guy's blizzard right here. Stuff's starting to happen over there. Stuff's already happening. Now all of a sudden I have my ROG Ally and an external display, which is great for gaming. I have my NVMe here plugged in. So now I have my Windows handheld. I've taken my ROG Ally, which has the internal storage, which I actually did upgrade. I have a ton of storage in there. 2 terabyte, which cost me like 300 Canadian dollars, which is like 250 American, cost me a fortune. That drive, or I could just have used this drive, which is the same size, and this one cost me $80 to get, just plug that in here and just use this drive here, basically. And then I have another one, a 4 terabyte NVMe, right? So, I mean, how much storage do you want? Some of these games on my ROG Ally, they work totally fine on the handheld. So, you have The Witcher, Last of Us, Horizon Zero Dawn. These are perfect games to play on a handheld like that. However, some of these games run much better on a mouse and keyboard. So these type games here, Baldur's Gate 3, Desperados, Jagged Alliance, Civilization, I don't want to play those on a gamepad. I want to play them with a keyboard and mouse. So on a big screen like this, or you can bring yourself in a gamepad, use your Xbox controller, hook that up over Bluetooth, or plug it in if it's wired. You can plug in a wired controller and you can play on here. So this dongle is awesome. What's my takeaway on the Yottamaster here? I really like this. Obviously, if you've seen my channel, I love devices like this. I love the fact that it has internal storage, because a lot of these times these things are just dongles, right? Like you just add some ports on it. That's good. I mean, that's nice. You get more ports, but why not also have NVMe storage built in? Like, why not, right? You have fast storage in there. You can store your files on that. You can do your video editing off of that. You can store your games on that and play right off of that. That's great. If you need more storage, plug in another dongle on top of that, so then you're getting even more storage. You get access to all these ports that you get very fast Ethernet. You get HDMI, you get all these USB ports, and you get storage. So, I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer. So I'm very happy with this device. Happy they sent it over. And to be honest, I'm going to be using this on a daily basis.